Hi there, I'm Sarah Cussop, Head of Sustainability here at CIBSE, Judge for the Building Performance Awards and host of this webinar, so welcome. The CIBSE Building Performance Awards, now in their 13th year, recognise the people, products and projects that demonstrate engineering excellence in the built environment. Entries are open to any organisation, both within the UK and internationally, that are responsible for the design, commissioning, construction, installation and operation of buildings, and manufacturers whose products enable better building performance. So, why are the CIBSE Building Performance Awards different from other awards? The BPAs are different because we're looking for high levels of measured performance throughout a building's life. This isn't what a building or project was designed to achieve, but what it actually did achieve. We're looking at performance in all senses, not just energy consumption, but user satisfaction, health and well-being, and future-proofing. The integrity of these awards is what makes them really stand out and worth entering. My first involvement with the BPA was 5 years ago when a university library I worked on won an award, and it was a euphoric feeling for all that hard work to be recognised. Since joining CIBSE, I've been on the judging panel, and it's one of the favourite parts of my job, always a stimulating and inspiring experience. So, what's new for 2020? Well, first of all, we've simplified the entry forms to make it easier for the fantastic features of your project to really shine through. We focus on what building performance really means, and we're looking for information on occupant feedback, operational energy, carbon emissions, health and well-being, innovation, and future-proofing. This year, we've also created a new category for retrofit, acknowledging the challenge of our existing building stock and the creative solutions needed to meet carbon reduction targets for the future. And finally, we've split the product category into two. We're looking for entries in the areas of thermal comfort and health and well-being. The first can include solutions into heating, ventilation, cooling and humidification. And for the second, we're looking for solutions in lighting, acoustics, air quality, renewable energy and energy efficiency. And finally, it's the second year of our prestigious Engineer of the Year award, a fantastic accolade recognising the enthusiasm and commitment of those working in industry. And here's a quick video of our winner last year, Clara Bagenal George, Senior Engineer at Elementa Consulting, with some tips on preparing for your entry.
Clara, do you have any advice for engineers in the field?
Yeah, my advice would be really find out what you're passionate about, what you care about, and really kind of push on that in all the projects that you work on. Be it controls or well-being or building performance, find your niche and really go for it and really question it and kind of work out, are people doing things in the right way, do things need to change, and how you can impact that. And also best of luck to all of the award entries for 2020.
Great, so that was Clara from last year. So the benefits of entering, aside from that wonderful feeling of euphoria and reward for your team that I mentioned earlier, we're also looking at competitive advantage. So winning a CIBSE Building Performance Award will establish your credentials as a leader in the sector, endorse your work and help to win new clients. You'll receive media exposure, both in print and online. And you'll also get a press kit, of course, an iconic CIBSE trophy to display in your office. So that's a quick run through of the benefits of entering, but we really want to hear from previous winners on what they thought. So we've got 3 wonderful speakers for you today, made up of our BPA judges and winners. First of all, we're going to hear from Simon Wyatt, partner at Kundel. So Simon leads Kundel's Building Physics, Health, Wellbeing and Sustainability team. Simon is on the CIBSE Knowledge Management Committee, the UK GBC Advisory Committee, the BCO's Environment Social Governance Group. Kundel were the 2019 winners of the Building Performance Consultancy up to 1,000 employees, and they also won the Learning and Development Award for the Kundel Diploma. So thank you for joining us today, Simon.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, so we're just going to run through a few questions. First of all, the most obvious, why did you enter the BPAs in 2019?
Well, we've always supported CIBSE and the CIBSE Awards, attending every year, and we've been keenly watching the Learning and Development Award for the last few years because we introduced something called the Kundel Diploma at Kundel to embed sustainability throughout our organisation. And it's been a kind of 3-year project, and it only just finished last year. So when we knew that we'd finished the project, we decided we wanted to enter it to compare it against what everyone else was doing and kind of showcase the best practice in design for performance and sustainability. And whilst we were doing the application for that, we decided to try and canvass other good practice within the organisation and then enter the practice of the year of the award as well. So really focusing on what we've been doing over the last few years in terms of building performance, both in terms of indoor environmental quality. So we've been doing lots of monitoring of spaces and projects and off the back of the well building standard, but also championing design for performance in energy using the new Building Better Partnerships design for performance standard and pushing that through the industry to actually get real performance in use rather than just compliance.
Wonderful. So very comprehensive, and clearly it paid off for you last year. So why was it important for you to enter? There's so many other awards in industry. What made you choose the BPAs?
The BPAs are a bit different from most of the other awards that we enter. It's more recognition from our peers. So we do enter major awards for our projects and look for industry recognition. But we like the CIBSE Awards because of the rigour and the actual process. It's more done on performance of the project rather than the marketing literature and the glossy photographs. It's really down to how the actual projects and the applications are actually performing, which we really like. And one of the key drivers for entering is to really showcase what our staff have been up to. Our staff see the CIBSE Awards as really important because it basically shows that they are working for an organisation that cares about for design performance and they want to be recognised for doing so. So it was really staff engagement and showing the rest of the industry what we've been up to and kind of get that peer recognition.
Amazing. It's really good to hear that insight. And very quickly, what happened when you won?
Well, obviously there was a few drinks involved and a bit of celebrating, but the main outcome from the awards was really us going around and showcasing what we'd been up to in our offices. So the awards actually did a bit of a tour of all our UK offices, and we did a bit of a roadshow showcasing quite a lot of the best practice, because when we did the Practice of the Year award, we basically polled all of the staff, both in the UK and globally, to find out what the best things they were doing in design for performance was, and then we kind of went around and showcased what everyone's responses were and why we'd actually won that award, which has kicked off a whole new range of innovation and development. And we have an internal award called the Kundel Excellent Awards, and we've just been hosting that. And off the back of winning the award last year, we've had an increased number of applications and a lot of people looking at innovation off the back of this.
Amazing. That's so exciting to hear. So, well, we want to know your secrets. So how did you approach gathering the information for your 2 entries, and who in your organisation helped you to pull together something so comprehensive that eventually led you to winning?
Well, I'll start with the diploma, which was fairly straightforward. Our learning and development team have been keeping all the records and track of that, so they pulled together most of the submission. We have a diploma development board, which has a number of our senior staff, so they reviewed the content and kind of tweaked it, but it was mostly done by the learning and development team, who've done an excellent job over the last few years on it, and they've been really keen to showcase what they've been doing. For the Consultancy of the Year award, it was a bit more of a team effort. What we did, we just employed a knowledge manager at Kundel, and to get him up to speed with what Kundel have been doing over the last few years, we asked him to do the awards entry, and he started off by polling and emailing all staff to find out what the best innovation they'd been doing over the last few years in design for performance was. He collated all that information, and then that was reviewed by 2 or 3 of our senior partners, and then fine-tuned by our marketing team. It's always worth getting marketing to have a read through, because they can remove some of the techie engineering speaks to make it a bit more friendly for the judges to read. So it's a big team effort, and it's paid off really well, and we've got a lot of literature off the back of it to share that best practice with both our clients and our staff.
Wonderful, some really good meaty tips there. Thanks very much, Simon. So to our listeners, if you have any questions for Simon or any general questions about the entry process, then please do send them in and we'll answer them at the end. So moving on to our next speaker, Sally Godber, Director at Warm. Life as a services engineer was too easy going for Sally, so she set up Warm with her father Peter in 2009. Warm is an energy consultancy providing passive house designs advice and certification, but also dabbles in building services, training, monitoring, and anything else that improves the built environment. Sally particularly enjoys design optimization to reduce capital cost and energy, occupant engagement, and energy monitoring. So Warm were 2019 BPA winners in the Building Performance Consultancy up to 100 employees category, and they were also highly commended for the Residential Project of the Year. So hi, Sally.
Hello. It's very funny having all of your
Welcome.
kind of accolades read back to you.
So exciting, enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I'd like to kind of go through the same questions that we asked Simon. Why did you enter the BPA in 2019?
It was a bit of a funny one. It wasn't an obvious choice for us, but one of the previous judges phoned up and asked if we would enter. It was an architect that we've done some work with historically, and they said that they just thought that the work we were doing was a really good fit. And actually, the more we looked through the application form, it was really clear that the real focus on looking at actual energy consumption really fit in very well with our consultancy. So I guess it's kind of quite interesting in terms of that it's not just consultancies that purely focus on building services, that the kind of wider remit of it is quite interesting.
And that's what we quite like. We do want to highlight that building performance is for everyone and everyone can contribute to this. So we do want to widen the net of our applicants. It's quite nice to hear that's something you wouldn't normally have considered, but it turned out well for you. So I think that kind of covers also why it was important for you to enter. But do you have any other comments on why you wanted to enter?
I think the only thing to say is that it is, and this kind of comes on to what happened when we won as well, it is absolutely fantastic recognition for a small business, and particularly to do nearly all of the consultancies that are out there do all kinds of interesting bits of research, which they're not publishing very well, and this is a really good opportunity to be able to showcase all of that and really dissipate that learning as well.
I think that's really valuable. So as you mentioned, you're a smaller business. So say compared to Kundel, who would have a larger team, who in your organisation helped complete your awards entry? And what kind of tips do you have for other smaller businesses who do want to enter in 2020?
Well, I would have loved to have had a marketing department, but most of it was actually put together by me. So I started off doing a load of bullet points of key things we wanted to highlight, and then we sat down with the whole of our team, there's only 8 of us, so it was quite easy. And this was a really interesting, the same kind of feedback that Simon was saying about just actually the opportunity to reflect on what you've done is just that in itself is really valuable, because even if it goes no further, you very rarely have that kind of opportunity to say, you know, what have we achieved? We're so focused on the things that we've got to get out the door and everything else. So this was really useful. So once we'd done the kind of bullet points, I went away and wrote it and then sent it out to the team, and they all said, no, that's rubbish, and rewrote it all for me. And then at the kind of a few seconds before the deadline, it finally got in.
Amazing, and I'm glad that you did make it in. So we've asked you to be a judge for 2020, and if you could just give us a little bit of insight into your specialism and as a judge what you might be looking for.
Yeah, so the things that I'm really interested in are particularly projects where they've really used their budget wisely. So not so much the ones where they've kind of thrown everything at it, but the stuff where they've kind of really tried to get the best out of the technologies they've implemented. And particularly what we can learn from those projects and take forward. So what what out of it is applicable to other projects, and that kind of continual learning is something that I'm particularly interested in. I also, I think I'm much more interested in them really proven results rather than the fluffy words. But that's kind of the whole basis of these awards anyway. So hopefully that's yeah, makes sense.
Wonderful indeed. Let's get everybody in the industry focused on measured building performance and actual outcomes rather than the fluffy marketing that has been mentioned by both yourself and Simon. So yes, this is the campaign. We're going to do this. So thanks very much, Sally. If you do have any further questions for Sally or general questions about the entry process, then please do send them in and we will answer them at the very end. So our final speaker is David Stevens, Vice Chair of the CIBSE Facilities Management Group. David is a chartered engineer and certified member of BIFIM with over 25 years experience in building services design, construction, project management, operations and strategic maintenance planning. So facilities management best practice across large property portfolios are his passionate area of focus. David's a member of the BIFIM expert panel and has been a judge on a number of different industry awards. He's been involved in the BPA for the last 4 years, and he's going to give us his insight as a veteran judge on the process and what he'll be looking for. So over to you, David.
Thank you very much, Sarah. It's been fantastic just to sit here and listen to two of our past winners talk about the impact that winning an award has meant for them. That really is good to hear, that winning of an award continues after the night itself. And just adding for me a personal comment, in my day job, I work client side. And one of the things that we actively do is look for awards that our framework consultants and people applying to be on our list have won. So there really is a commercial advantage as well to winning the awards. So the judges themselves, we're made up cross arena, cross category. We have architects, engineers at all levels, partner down to senior engineer, from design, project management and the operations fields. We have previous winners such as Sally from Warm and Simon from Elementa. So these are two people that know exactly what it takes to submit a winning entry. Now, when coming to submit an award yourself, what is it that we're actually looking for? Answering the questions, I think, is absolutely key. The submission itself is broken up into sections, and it will ask entrants to submit comment based upon that. So often the questions aren't strictly answered the way that they've been asked, and that's really difficult to pull the information out and compare it to the other entrants. We certainly want more submissions than not. So if you're sitting there looking at the award, looking at the questions and thinking, well, I'm only 90% there, I'm only 60% there, I would implore you to still submit your submissions. It gives us the opportunity to see what you've been doing and to tease that information out when we sit and judge. Also consider the awards that you're submitting for. We, in recent years, have had an award winner in one category that didn't actually submit in that category at all. So have a think. If you're creating a submission for the Collaboration Award, for instance, have a think if it's suitable for the Facilities Management Award as well. Have a look at those questions. The questions are similar but different, but they can be very much aligned. And one of the things to consider is if you have designed, commissioned and handed over an excellent project that's maybe been a soft landings project, what is the client now doing? Have they got great operations? Are they managing the building in a fantastic way? So you could be submitting an award for project and facilities management with your client. So what are we looking for when we read the entries? Obviously, we're looking for passion, dedication and commitment. We want to see that you really are proud of the piece of work that you've done, or the engineer, or the project, that you are very keen to see that they are celebrated in a way, and therefore put in as many words as you can without exceeding the word count, of course, that answers those questions. We really want to read what it is that you've been doing, what's best practice, what really sets you apart from somebody else. Why do you really think you're an award winner? and giving us as much non-marketing speak as you possibly can will really assist this. With products, quite often we get submissions that are based on sales literature. We still mark them, we go through and mark them accordingly, but bump unfortunately tends not to score particularly highly. When submitting the application, obviously we can tell whether it's been submitted by a marketing professional or a committed member of staff. Sally has already said that she created hers herself, and I can assure you, as a judge and a panel of judges, you stand no greater chance if your submission is submitted by a marketing professional or is it submitted by the engineer who worked on the project themselves. Yes, it may be less glossy. Yes, it may have less images, but it's the content, it's the words that we're looking at. Now, of course, that means that you shouldn't forget to include the data. Some of the awards will ask you to include specific data, excuse me, and that needs to be presented in a clear, concise, and perhaps imaginative way. We're trying to see what it is you're telling us. So perhaps by use of a dashboard, perhaps by use of graphs, etc. You can use these where it allows you to do so as additional material that we can look through. But one thing I would really encourage you to do is get that third-party data, get that EPC, get that deck, use that building user survey submission as opposed to self-generated data. Now, self-generated data will always be considered unless it specifically states that it needs to be an external generated data. But if it's by a third party, that's independent validation of what you're telling us, and that really does carry good weight with us. Images are fantastic. We do a lot of reading, so it's really, really good to have something to lift our eyes and give us a little bit more interesting things to look at. So images, of course, can be anything, but you would imagine we get inundated with buildings and plant rooms. Consider your team, consider infographics, consider a picture of the person that's submitting the award, consider you sitting there on a commissioning day. Put as many pictures as you can in, use comparatives if that is useful, but really draw our attention to what it is you're trying to tell us by using pictures whenever you possibly can. Testimonials are always an important part of any submission, and they really will transfer your application. For us to see what you are telling us validated by a third-party comment really, really does make a difference. Now, you can do this in a number of ways. You can have a big, bold statement there by your client, or you can have lots of punchy, short statements from a variety of those that you've been involved with. Now, they could be the client, they could be the main contractor, they could be your subcontractor, they could be one of your fellow designers. Getting lots of people to give a single line comment about how good you were, how good this product was, how good this engineer is, and having multiple of those really do carry a very good, strong message. Of course, if you don't have that, then simply include statements from yourself, from your own board members, perhaps from your own graduate engineers about what it meant for them to be working on this particular project. It really is a good time for you to shine and show us that other people value the work that you have done and are prepared to put that in writing. And then lastly, I mentioned this before, it's about issues that you may create or come across when you're submitting the application. Obviously, if you can't answer the questions, it's difficult to submit, but if you're struggling in part of it, please do try and think around the question, what it is that we're trying to find out. So if there isn't any data for any particular reason, tell us why that is, explain, give us a full picture. Don't hesitate to submit entries if one of the questions you're a little bit weak on. We would much rather read what you've got to say than you simply think that you're not good enough. You never know, you may not be an award winner, but you could be shortlisted. That's it for me.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, David, for that insight. So that's quite a comprehensive tour of what the judges are looking for. If you do have any questions for David at the end, please do let us know and we will answer them in the Q&A slot. So big thank you to our three speakers. Simon Wyatt from Kundel, Sally Godber from Warm, and David Stevens from the CIBSE FM group. Just to let you know about where you can find some additional resources to help you put together your awards entry. Please do visit the CIBSE blog for inspiration from past winners and further personal accounts. Have a look at previous awards nights and hear what winning the awards has meant for past winners by searching on CIBSE on youtube.com. Obviously, don't forget to follow the CIBSE Awards on Twitter and the hashtag BPA 2020 across all social media channels for the latest news and all the information that you need on categories, criteria, and of course, the all-important streamlined application forms can be found on the CIBSE website. If you do need any help with your entry for any reason, my colleagues' contact details are on the screen, and if you're interested in sponsoring the awards, then please do get in touch. The deadline is the 13th of September 2019. As reiterated by our panelists, leave as much time as possible, and if you can submit your entry early, then our team will be able to check it over for you and get back to you if any information is missing. As always, don't forget to get in touch if you do need any further assistance or are unsure about any element of the award. Lastly, a reminder from me about the awards dinner. It will take place on the 11th of February 2020 at the Grosvenor House, London. Table bookings are available online, so please do get in touch if you'd like to register your interest or be the first to book. This webinar recording will be shared, so please do distribute to your colleagues and teams to inspire them further. That's it from me. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us today, and we really look forward to receiving your entry for the Building Performance Awards 2020. Thank you very much.